Let me describe Danielle to you. She's 32 years old, lives in Austin, Texas, and works as a project manager at a mid-sized tech company. Her base salary is exactly $92,000 a year. After her recent promotion and performance bonuses, her total income hit $108,000. On paper, she should be crushing it. Every online calculator says she's solidly upper middle class. She should be building a serious emergency fund. She should be aggressively paying down her student loans. She should be watching her net worth climb steadily every month. Instead, her checking account balance last Friday was $143. Her rent is $2,100. Her car payment is $489. She has $7,300 on a credit card that was supposed to be just for points. She's playing financial Tetris, moving money between accounts to make sure nothing bounces before payday. 3 weeks ago, her 8-year-old Honda needed a $1,300 transmission repair. She had two choices: drain her meager emergency fund or put it on the credit card. She chose the card. Monthly minimum payment, $210 at 24.99% interest. And here's the craziest part. Danielle did everything right. She went to a state school to keep costs reasonable. She picked a practical major in business administration. She got a stable corporate job right after graduation. She contributes 6% to her 401k to get the employer match. She doesn't have kids yet. She's not buying designer handbags or taking exotic vacations. So why does a $108,000 income feel like she's drowning in quicksand? Why does every raise seem to evaporate faster than morning dew? Here's the part that might sound familiar. Danielle's gross income increased by $16,000 after her promotion, but her monthly expenses somehow increased by over $1,800 without any conscious lifestyle inflation decisions. If you've ever gotten a raise and wondered where the hell it all went, if you've ever felt more financially stressed after making more money, this video is for you, because you're not crazy and you're not irresponsible. There's a systematic reason why extra income triggers a 3 times multiplier effect on spending, and once you see it, you'll never look at a promotion the same way again. My name is Barack, and I spend way too much time thinking about the invisible financial architectures that keep smart, hardworking people trapped on an economic treadmill that speeds up every time they try to get ahead. If you're someone who keeps making more money but somehow feels more broke, or if you're tired of financial advice that blames your coffee habit while ignoring the structural forces extracting your raises before you ever see them, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we aren't talking about budgeting apps or side hustles. We're talking about the income multiplier trap, the systematic way that every extra dollar you earn gets converted into $3 of new obligations by institutions that profit from your success. Let's expose how the game is rigged against wage earners. Here's the thing about the conventional wisdom around income and financial stress. We've all been sold the same seductive narrative. If you're struggling financially, you need to make more money. Get better skills. Work harder. Climb the corporate ladder. The solution to financial anxiety is always more income. It seems perfectly logical, right? If your expenses are $4,000 a month and you're making $5,000, then jumping to $6,000 should create a clean $1,000 of breathing room. Except that's not what happens in the real world. The academic term for this phenomenon is expenditure cascades, extensively researched by economist Robert Frank at Cornell University. Frank studied how income increases don't just affect individual spending, they create systematic pressure that raises costs across entire communities. When high earners bid up housing prices in desirable areas, it forces everyone else to spend more just to maintain their relative position. What Frank found was genuinely shocking. Even substantial income increases often result in decreased financial satisfaction because the baseline cost of normal rises faster than individual paychecks. But there's an even more insidious mechanism at work. I call it the structural cost escalator. This isn't just about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about how every institution in your economic ecosystem immediately recalibrates what they think you can afford the moment your income increases. Your landlord sees your new salary during lease renewal and adjusts accordingly. Your insurance company notices your upgraded address and vehicle. Banks and credit card companies raise your limits and encourage larger purchases. Even your social circle unconsciously shifts expectations about restaurants, entertainment, and lifestyle choices. The structural cost escalator means that higher income brackets come with non-negotiable entry fees. To get the high-paying job, you need to live near expensive urban centers. To live near those centers, you pay premium prices for housing, transportation, and services. To justify those premium prices, you need the high-paying job. It's a closed economic loop that traps you in a high-cost, high-stress lifestyle. Let that sink in. This isn't personal failure or lack of willpower. That's a systematic trap designed to capture your income growth before it can improve your actual financial security. Let me take you back to 1985, because understanding history is crucial to seeing why today's math feels so broken. In 1985, the median household income was around $23,600, which equals roughly $68,000 in today's purchasing power. The typical middle-class family had something we've completely lost: structural financial resilience. Most families operated on a single primary income with a second adult available as backup. They had built-in redundancy and margin for error. And here's what most people don't realize about that era: their fixed costs consumed a much smaller percentage of total income. According to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, housing typically consumed 25% of household income, transportation about 18%, and healthcare was barely 5%. That left substantial margin for savings, unexpected expenses, and economic flexibility. They had an intangible benefit that's nearly extinct today: the ability to absorb financial shocks without systemic collapse. If the primary earner lost their job, the family could dramatically reduce expenses, and the secondary adult could enter the workforce as an emergency measure. Now fast forward to today. Median household income has risen to around $74,000, but the cost structure has fundamentally inverted. Housing in desirable metro areas now consumes 35 to 45% of household income for renters and buyers respectively. Transportation costs have exploded as car prices soared and public transit failed to expand. Healthcare, even with employer insurance, now devours 11% of household budgets through deductibles, copays, and premium contributions. But here's the real killer: entirely new cost categories that barely existed in 1985. Childcare now costs an average of $15,000 per year per child in major cities. Student loan payments, virtually non-existent for the previous generation, now average over $300 monthly for college graduates. Technology, internet, and subscription services add hundreds more in monthly obligations. The income gains were real, but they were completely absorbed by cost explosions in non-negotiable categories. What used to be 42% margin for discretionary spending and savings became 15% or less. The buffer disappeared, and into that void stepped predatory lending, lifestyle inflation pressure, and systematic wealth extraction. Now you might be thinking, but if someone gets a $15,000 raise, that's still extra money in their pocket, right? That should help. But let me walk you through the mathematics of how the income multiplier trap actually works. Because this is where the 3 times spending effect becomes crystal clear. Let's say you're making $70,000 and you get promoted to $85,000. That's a $15,000 annual increase that feels substantial and life-changing when you see it on your offer letter. Let's focus on what happens to that $15,000 before you make a single spending decision. First, the tax bite. At the 22% federal marginal bracket where most middle-class earners land, plus state taxes averaging around 5%, plus Social Security at 6.2%, plus Medicare at 1.45%, your total marginal tax rate hits roughly 35%. So that $15,000 immediately becomes $9,750 in actual take-home pay. But wait, there's more. Your employer sees that $85,000 salary and makes automatic adjustments. Your health insurance premium, previously subsidized based on your lower salary band, increases by $60 per month. Your parking pass, if tiered by income level, goes up $20 monthly. If you're responsibly increasing your 401k contribution to 6% of the new salary, that's another $900 annually that never hits your paycheck. Your $9,750 is now $8,470, or about $700 per month in actual purchasing power increase. And we're not done. Here's where the multiplier effect kicks in with devastating precision. Your brain doesn't process $700 monthly. It processes $15,000 annually. You feel like an $85,000 person, and $85,000 people don't drive 12-year-old cars with failing air conditioning or live in apartments with paper-thin walls. So you upgrade your car payment by $350 monthly because you deserve reliable transportation and can afford it now. You move to a nicer apartment for $400 more per month because you're finally making enough to live in a safer neighborhood. You start buying organic groceries and eating out more frequently because you're not poor anymore, adding another $250 monthly to your food budget. Let's add it up. $700 in actual monthly increase, minus $350 for the car, minus $400 for housing, minus $250 for lifestyle upgrades, equals negative $300 monthly. That's not a typo. You're now $300 worse off every month than before the raise, despite working harder and earning more money. But here's the truly insidious part. All those upgrades came with multi-year commitments. The car loan runs 72 months. The lease is 12 months minimum. You've converted a temporary income increase into permanent expense increases that will persist even if your income drops. This is the mathematical core of why extra income makes you spend 3 times more. Every dollar of raise triggers roughly $3 of new monthly obligations through a combination of tax erosion, automatic deductions, and lifestyle recalibration based on gross rather than net income. Someone is working nights and weekends, missing family dinners, and taking on additional stress to net negative cash flow from a promotion. The system has converted your ambition into a wealth extraction mechanism. And here's the psychological trap that makes this mathematical disaster feel completely rational in the moment. Because you see that $85,000 on your offer letter, your tax forms, and your LinkedIn profile, you experience what I call the gross income halo effect. You feel like an $85,000 person. You make decisions based on that headline number, not on your actual disposable income after taxes, deductions, and work-related expenses. The gross income halo creates a powerful identity shift that happens instantly, before the first paycheck arrives. You're no longer someone who makes $70,000. You're someone who makes $85,000. And people who make $85,000 don't shop at discount stores or drive cars with visible rust spots or live in neighborhoods where they worry about package theft. Every institution in your ecosystem reinforces this psychological trap. The bank looks at that gross salary and approves you for a $35,000 car loan because your debt-to-income ratio looks great on paper. The landlord sees your income and feels comfortable charging premium rent. Credit card companies automatically raise your limits because you're clearly moving up in the world. This is where the trap snaps shut completely. Once you sign that car loan or lease agreement based on your gross income, You've converted variable costs into fixed obligations. You've locked yourself into what I call lifestyle fragility, where your elevated expenses require 100% operational efficiency to maintain. The family making $70,000 in 1985 had resilience built into their cost structure. They could absorb a job loss by cutting discretionary spending and having the non-working spouse enter the workforce. The modern family making $85,000 has already optimized both incomes just to service their fixed costs. They have no backup plan, no margin for error, no flexibility to handle economic disruption. Psychologically, this creates what researchers call high-income poverty, where you look successful from the outside but live in constant financial anxiety. You're terrified of losing your job, not because you'll be poor, but because you'll be unable to service the debt you took on specifically because you weren't poor. The system has tricked you into trading financial security for the appearance of financial success. You've become a prisoner of your own elevated lifestyle, working harder and harder just to maintain a standard of living that provides less actual security than a simpler life with lower fixed costs. So what is the solution? Now you might be thinking, this seems impossible to escape. If everyone around me is spending at this level, and every institution is pushing me to spend more, how do I break free? That's exactly the trap talking. Here's the mindset shift. The goal isn't to maximize your income, it's to maximize your margin. The goal is to create the largest possible gap between what you earn and what you're obligated to spend, regardless of the absolute numbers. The alternative approach is what I call the net income shielding strategy. You treat every raise, bonus, or income increase as if it doesn't exist for lifestyle purposes for a minimum of 18 months, and you automate the money away before your brain can rationalize spending it. Let me make this concrete with exact steps. You get that $15,000 raise we discussed earlier. Your actual take-home increase is $700 monthly. Before you upgrade anything, you immediately set up automatic transfers that happen on payday before you see the money in your checking account. $400 goes directly to a high-yield savings account at a different bank that you don't have easy access to. $200 goes to additional retirement contributions beyond your employer match. The remaining $100 can provide tiny lifestyle improvements so you don't feel completely deprived. Maybe better coffee or a gym membership you'll actually use. This requires real sacrifice. You're watching colleagues upgrade their cars while you drive the same reliable vehicle. You're seeing friends move to trendy neighborhoods while you stay in your affordable apartment. You're living below your apparent means, which feels like failure in a culture that measures success through consumption. But within 18 months, you have something your peers don't have: options. You've built $7,200 in liquid savings. You've dramatically increased your retirement contributions. Most importantly, you've avoided locking yourself into higher fixed costs that would trap you in your current job. You're buying the most valuable thing money can purchase, which isn't stuff or status. It's flexibility. It's the ability to say no to a toxic boss. It's the ability to take calculated career risks. It's the ability to handle emergencies without panic. You're purchasing your freedom, one unspent dollar at a time. I want to leave you with one final thought. This conversation isn't really about budgeting or personal finance or even income optimization. It's about agency versus captivity in the modern economy. Our grandparents, for all their lack of modern conveniences, possess something we've systematically traded away: economic autonomy. They owned their time because their cost structure allowed for flexibility. They could absorb shocks, take risks, and make choices based on values rather than debt service requirements. We've built a system where we're running at maximum capacity just to maintain our position on the economic treadmill. We've traded resilience for efficiency, margin for status, and freedom for the appearance of success. The income multiplier trap relies on you not doing the math. It depends on you looking at gross numbers and feeling proud, rather than examining net numbers and feeling angry. It counts on you accepting that higher income automatically means higher expenses, that success requires elevated fixed costs, that financial progress means lifestyle inflation. But the moment you see the trap, the moment you realize that your raise was just a pass-through payment to landlords, car dealers, and tax collectors, everything changes. You can choose to step off the escalator. You can choose to value margin over status. You can choose to be genuinely wealthy rather than just high earning. Genuine wealth isn't about your salary or your car or your zip code. It's about having options. It's about being able to walk away from situations that don't serve you. It's about sleeping soundly because you know you can handle whatever life throws at you. You can hustle your way out of many financial problems, but you cannot hustle your way out of traps you don't know exist. Now you know. You've seen the mathematics of how the system converts your ambition into their profit. You understand why making more money often makes you feel more broke. If this video helped you see your financial stress as systematic rather than personal failure, if it made you angry at the right targets, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Share this with someone who just got promoted and thinks their money problems are solved. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.